replacing Vice President-elect J.D. Vance in the U.S. Senate. Correspondent Donna Warder reports.
Ohio Governor Mike DeWine has picked his Lieutenant Governor John Husted to succeed J.D. Vance in the U.S. Senate. Vance will be sworn in as Vice President of the United States on Monday. For months, top Ohio Republicans had been jockeying for the U.S. Senate position. Husted had been positioning to run for governor in 2026. The 57-year-old is a former Ohio House Speaker and two-term Ohio Secretary of State, and he'll serve in the U.S. Senate until December 15th, 2026. A special election for the last 2 years of Vance's 6-year term as U.S. Senator will be held in November 2026. I'm Donna Warder.
Israel's Security Cabinet has recommended approval of a ceasefire for Gaza. The deal now awaits action by the full cabinet. BBC correspondent Mark Lowen reports Israeli citizens have strong opposing feelings about the proposed agreement.
Some family members happy with the deal in terms of getting the first wave of the hostages back, but many others who are families and loved ones of those who are not on the first list of the hostages to be released are furious that more effort has not been done to get all the hostages home in one go.
If Israel's full cabinet agrees to the ceasefire, it could start as soon as Sunday. 2 wildfires still burning in Los Angeles have torched more urban area than any other fire in the state since at least the mid-1980s. The Eaton and Palisades fires that erupted last week have collectively burned almost 4 square miles of highly dense parts of Los Angeles. On Wall Street, the Dow by 334 points. More on these stories at townhall.com.
You heard me talk about Relief Factor and how so many people enjoy a better, more pain-free life because of it. If you're dealing with everyday pain, it makes sense you'd want to try it first. Well, Relief Factor makes that pretty pain-free too with their 3-week quick start kit for only $19.95, less than $1 a day. Relief Factor is a daily supplement that fights pain naturally. Relief Factor doesn't just mask pain temporarily, it helps reduce or eliminate pain. Visit ReliefFactor.com or call 1-800-4RELIEF, 800-4RELIEF for Relief Factor.
Fentanyl kills 400 Americans per day. The new documentary, Fentanyl, Death Incorporated, explores this deadly epidemic.
It is the equivalent of a 747 going down every 2 days.
Where is all of this stuff coming from?
Supply chains, super labs, open borders, letting it all in.
All roads lead back to China.
They're killing our children. How do we change that?
Don't miss Fentanyl, Death Incorporated. It could save someone you love. Watch it now at salemnow.com. Salemnow.com.
You heard me talk about Relief Factor and how so many people enjoy a better, more pain-free life because of it. If you're dealing with everyday...
Here's the Wall Street Business Report.
Stocks rallied to close out their best week in 2 months. The S&P 500 rose 1%. The Dow climbed 0.8%, and the Nasdaq Composite gained 1.5%. SLB helped lead the market after the provider of oil field services said it will deliver more cash to its shareholders through dividends and a stock buyback. Big tech also lifted the market amid hopes the Federal Reserve may cut interest rates later this year. Treasury yields held relatively steady in the bond market after sharp drops early in the week helped boost stocks. The Dow up 334 points to close at 43,487. The Nasdaq gained 292 to 19,630. The S&P 500 added 59 points to 5996. For the Wall Street Business Report, I'm John Scott.
News and analysis at townhall.com. I'm Keith.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
Here's your weekend forecast. Clouds rolling in tonight, setting us up for a wet Saturday. Our low this evening, 41. Tomorrow, look for heavy rain at times, especially early. The high tops out at 58. For Sunday, it's a mix of some sunshine, some clouds, and a 30% chance we get those scattered showers. The high in the mid-50s. Have a great weekend. I'm Cal Moss with your On Point local weather.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
From the Bart Fireside Studio, the solution for keeping you warm this winter.
This is 107 The Point.
The Point. The Point.
This is Sports Talk with Phil Kornblut and Chris Bergen Sports Talk is heard across the state on radio affiliates of the Sports Talk Media Network and is streaming live on SportsTalkSC.com, as well as Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. The South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number to call in is 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now, here are Phil and Chris with tonight's edition of Sports Talk.
All right, welcome in, everybody. It's Sports Talk Media Network here on this Friday night. And what a great night it is. First of all, what a beautiful day in South Carolina it turned out to be. I don't believe those predictions about snow. There's no way it's going to snow based on how things were today, Mr. Bergen. So take your snow and shove it.
Of course you don't.
Or maybe I should say take your
$700 web app.
Take your snow and shovel it. Yeah. Well, it was a beautiful day. It was a beautiful day today, and we're hoping, of course, that the weather remains very nice, though we do know that our expectations of wintry weather to come. We are at a party. We don't get invited to many parties. It's just, it's a personal thing. We don't get invited to many parties. I see your Braves cap, David Cloninger, in the house. We don't get invited to many parties, but we got invited to this one, and I said, they started at 5:30, and I had to be at this, and I said, you know what? I'll come out and I'll do the show here at the party. So that's how I actually landed the invitation. It's not, based on my personality or anything. So we're at the Old Mill Brew Club, which is in Lexington. Pete Iacobelli, longtime writer for the Associated Press in South Carolina, some 40 years covering sports and some news in South Carolina, but primarily sports. And I mean covering the entire state from up to Clemson, through Columbia, down to Charleston, over to the beach, to Darlington, everywhere. So he is retiring from the Associated Press, and we're having a party for him tonight. Got a bunch of old scribes around here. Our old friend Ron Morris, our old friend Rick Scoppy is here. Bob Gillespie, Bob Spear, Lou Bajak. I mentioned David Cloninger just walked in from the Post and Courier. Some folks from South Carolina are here. Steve Fink is here from South Carolina. And so we got a great crowd. One of my old college professors is here, Bruce Smith, who worked with the AP in Charleston for a long, long time. Actually taught me in college. He was a graduate student, and so he had one of our journalism classes, and he was fantastic. So he is here. So we got a great crowd. So you know what? I said, let's do the show, and we'll have some of these guys on. Pete will be with us in just a couple of minutes to reminisce about things. And we'll have some of these guys on to talk about Pete and talk about some of the sporting news of the week and of the day. Of course, it was a big day in South Carolina, for Dawn Staley, as she gets this new massive contract, Chris, that makes her the highest paid women's college basketball coach in history. How about that?
And, Phil, I think it's well-deserved. I mean, who else are you going to give that kind of money to right now? As I mentioned, I think earlier this week, we were chatting about her influence and all the things that she has accomplished, not just at South Carolina, but women's basketball in general. She is the face of the sport. And you just look at her resume, and it stacks up as well as anybody's in the world. And in terms of basketball, just from a playing career all the way through her coaching career now. And I think this sort of cements her as she'll retire at USC probably with, what do you think, 5-6 national championships? I think she'll get at least 2 more, if not more than that, before she's done in Columbia. And just a remarkable job she has done with that program, turning them into a monster. And again, they go last night, they go on the road, number 19 team in the country, no problem. They win another road game against another top 20 program, and they just continue to dominate in the SEC, and the streaks that they have going on is just remarkable. So yeah, she is worth every penny that South Carolina is paying her, and I think that speaks to what the Gamecocks and USC believe, not just in her, but in women's basketball in general, and the investment that they have made. You don't get to where they are right now is maybe the most dominant program in the country right now in terms of the dynasty. And you don't get to that point without the investment from the university. And she referenced that today in her comments about the new contract that's going to push her well above $4 million.
We will let you hear some of her comments from today about getting this new deal. Here are some of the contract terms. It started immediately. It started today, and it runs through April 15th of 2030. That's a neat day to wrap it up. Tax day of 2030. So starting immediately, $4 million for the first year of the contract. Then it increases to 4.25 to 4.5 to 4.75 to $5 million. Then it caps out at 5.25 plus. Throw in a $500,000 signing bonus. Then all kinds of other bonuses, including $100,000 for winning both the SEC regular season and tournament championship. And then, should you win a national championship, that's another $500,000 bonus, $25,000 bonus for being the SEC Coach of the Year, and then another $25,000 for being the National Coach of the Year, and $15,000 for being in the final top 25 of the AP or the coaches poll. Then there are the other add-ons related to automobiles and tickets to football and men's basketball games. Here is an interesting clause, though, Chris. Here's an interesting clause, and that is that termination of employment by the coach. Coach shall pay liquidated damages in an amount equal to coach's guaranteed annual compensation prorated for the remaining term of the agreement as if it naturally expired on April 15th, 2030. Provided, however, if coach terminates the agreement in order to immediately accept employment as a head coach or assistant coach in the NBA or the WNBA, she shall not be obligated to pay USC liquidated damages. So in layman's terms,
wow,
and that's pretty clear, but I'll act like I'm a lawyer. In layman's terms, if she leaves for an assistant's job or a head coaching job in the NBA or the WNBA, she pays South Carolina nothing. I thought that was a pretty interesting clause included in the contract.
I would agree with you, Phil, because I think that's the only logical next and final step for her, isn't it? I mean, she's not going to take another college job. I mean, why would she leave South Carolina to go anywhere else in the country? There's no other job in the country that's better than the one she has right now. She had an opportunity to go back to Virginia, her alma mater, many, many years ago, turned that down. She's just not going to leave South Carolina for another collegiate job, I don't think. I just can't envision a situation where she would leave to go somewhere else. So I would think if I'm USC, I maybe let her out of the contract if she takes another college job long before I would let her out of having to pay us back money if she goes to the NBA or the WNBA, because to me that's the only last hurdle that she's got to clear to wrap up what has been a Hall of Fame career.
Yeah. Nobody asked her a question about that today when they had a little gaggle. I guess I'm going to try and go to their game on Sunday. Maybe I can ask her. I'm just wondering if she had that. It sounds like a clause that she would have had put into the contract.
I agree. Yeah.
It sounds like something to kind of protect her future. And so she would have that put in. I see that Gene Sapikoff is here. The worldwide traveler, Gene Sapikoff, formerly of the Charleston Post and Courier. We got all kind of important people walking around here at this gathering. So, looking forward to having Pete with us here in just a moment. Before we do that, let me mention a couple of things. Our phone number is 888-898-2525, South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number. Had a great time up in Greenville last night with the South Carolina Athletic Coaches Association and all those other associations represented from across the country at a gathering in Greenville that continues through the weekend. Today they took a bus ride over to Clemson for a tour of the facilities over there. So I know they're having a great time, and we enjoyed being with them last night. And we've got basketball to talk about. South Carolina and Clemson playing tomorrow. South Carolina, of course, going to be at Oklahoma, and Clemson is going to be at Pittsburgh. So they could both go on the road. South Carolina in desperate need of a win, and Clemson looking to continue its winning ways and taking on one of the better teams in the ACC. And you You had a tough loss last night with Coastal, and you've got double duty tomorrow.
Yeah, sixth game this season that the Chanticleers men have lost by 7 points or fewer. Went overtime last night with Georgia Southern. They had to force overtime. They were down 9 with about 2.5 minutes left to go, and CCU got right back in the game. Scored with about with a second and a half left to go on a Denzel Hines lay-in to tie the game, and then just couldn't finish it off and win it in overtime. And yeah, that's all I've been doing this afternoon is getting ready. I've got double dip tomorrow in Conway. We've had to shuffle some broadcasters around, so I get to do both the women and the men tomorrow, and the women's game should be outstanding as Coastal is undefeated at home this season. The last team to beat them in Conway was at the tail end of last year. It's James Madison, who they see tomorrow, and JMU leads the Sun Belt and is ranked actually number 10 in the mid-major ranking. And I didn't realize this until I was doing some prep work this afternoon, Phil. That James Madison program, 6-0 on the season, they in conference play. Of their 4 losses, 3 of them have come to NC State, Notre Dame, and Texas. And if you look at all-time wins in women's basketball history, James Madison is 4th nationally behind just Tennessee, Stanford, and UConn. They actually have 200 more wins than the South Carolina women's program has.
You've done way too much research. Way too much research.
And the guys play Marshall tomorrow, too. I'll be ready for that as well.
I'm afraid if JMU played the South Carolina, they'd lose by 30.
Probably so.
In all probability. Let's don't forget this weekend we have got the NFL playoffs continuing. Though I know interest has dropped tremendously since the Packers are out, the nation really doesn't
It's the best
care.
Weekend of the playoffs, don't you think?
Well, when the Packers are in it, I think it's a
NFL?
great weekend. Yeah, I think it's a great weekend.
Nobody cares about it. I told you 3 weeks ago the Packers weren't going anywhere. You just didn't want to believe us.
Yeah.
Josh's team is the team to beat in the NFC and maybe in the NFL. But the AFC playoffs, holy smokes. The game between the second game of the divisional round, the last one on Sunday between Baltimore and Kansas City. No. Baltimore and, I look silly now.
Baltimore and Baltimore.
Buffalo. Thank you.
Buffalo, yeah.
Yeah, Baltimore and Buffalo should be an amazingly good game.
Yeah. Oh, there's some great matchups. I do love this weekend. I wish my team was still in it, but it's not, so I won't have as much, of an interest as I normally would, but I'll keep an eye on it. And then, of course, we've got the national championship game finally coming up on Monday night. If I'm basketball people, I'm sort of like, will you football people finally end your season
Exactly.
so we can really, get all the interest on us? We said this way back when they announced the schedule. Think about this. It's going to be January 20th. So basically, college basketball has a week in January, 4 weeks in February, and like a week in March before you get to the tournament. So you're really just talking about 6 weeks of the regular season that is not covered up by football before you get to the NCAA tournament. I don't know that that's fair for basketball.
No, I agree. I wish football season were done right around New Year's Day as it used to be. I was joking earlier this week that spring practice will be started at some places before the national championship game is played. You remember when Jamie Chadwell was head coach at Coastal Carolina, they used to have their spring game on Valentine's Day. They were done on Valentine's Day, so they actually would be in spring practice about right now, getting ready for the upcoming season while there are still teams trying to wrap up this past season. And I'm sure there are teams around the country, I don't know where, but I would imagine there are 1 or 2 somewhere that are getting spring practice underway now.
Yes, you're exactly right. Furman is usually one of the first ones to jump into spring ball. Before we hit the break, couple of quick high school notes. West Florence today named Chad Wilkes their new head football coach. He used to be the coach at Oceanside Collegiate, and Wilson named Brian Wilson as their new head football coach. And also Southside Christian's head coach Mike Sonneborn stepped down after 8 seasons, 2 state championships, and 70 games. Pete Yanity from up at WSPA TV reported that. Speaking of Pete, we're going to talk to the man of the hour, Pete Iacobelli, after the break. First 10 callers who can correctly spell Pete's name, we're going to send them a Pete Iacobelli is retired T-shirt. Okay. If you can spell it, you can have it. All right, we're going to hit the break, and Pete's going to join us here in just a moment as we come to you from Lexington tonight here on Sports Talk. Be right back.
Happy New Year. 2025 is here, and that means it's time to get your finances on track. With Founders Federal Credit Union, you can manage debt like a pro this year. Simplify and possibly reduce your payments by consolidating your high-interest debt with a personal loan from Founders. With flexible payment terms and loan amounts, we have a personal loan to fit your needs. Stop by one of our locations or visit foundersfcu.com. Membership qualification required. Terms and conditions apply.
I'm attorney Jim Corbett. I'm not a case manager. I'm a lawyer for over 35 years. I don't charge 40% for your injury in your wreck case or any on-the-job injury. Call 803-765-2968 and ask for Jim Corbett, or email me, jim@jimcorbettattorney.com, for the experience of a lawyer handling your injury case. Jim Corbett, 803-765-2968. Jim@jimcorbettattorney.com. Put 35 years of experience to work on your injury case.
One lottery ticket makes a big difference for our state students. And when I say big, I mean bigger than jackpot big. Since 2002, South Carolina students have benefited from more than $6 billion in lottery-funded scholarships and grants, including the Life, Hope, and Palmetto Fellow Scholarships. With every lottery play, you're supporting our students, and that adds up in a big way. That's why education is our middle name. Learn more at sceducationlottery.com/betteryou.
All right, welcome back, everybody. On a Friday night, we're just chilling. We're just chilling here on a Friday night. We're in Lexington, and we are here as part of a group to celebrate one of our good friends and truly one of the best journalists, one of the best sports journalists to come through our state over the last 4 decades. Pete Iacobelli with the Associated Press. And he is retiring now, which hurts me personally because I'm going to miss Pete at the various events that we have been together with over the years. And we're here to celebrate him. Been a lot.
Yeah.
Been a lot. And Pete is here with us at our location. First of all, congratulations to making it to retirement land. Yeah. I wanted to say this. This is awesome because you get to hear nice things from people and you're still alive.
It's true.
So it's not like it's your funeral.
It's been something since I announced my plans in late November. I mean, you know, with the honors that South Carolina and Clemson have given me at the football game that last week, and then one of my last basketball games, you know, they presented me a jersey with my name on it and, you know, the number 32 for the years I've covered. It's been quite a ride, and it's been fun sharing it with Phil, a lot of people in this room, new and, you know, young and old. And I'm just very proud of the things people are saying, very happy with my career.
Well, it's all – and you've earned all that. When you came here from New York or down from, and you grew up in New York.
Staten Island.
Yeah, I was in the Bronx. You were in Staten Island, so we were basically neighbors, right?
Right.
Yeah. Anyway, you come down here. What did you expect about sports in South Carolina?
You know, I wasn't really sure. I knew there were, you know, I knew people were crazy about college sports. I knew they were crazy about college football. The Clemson-South rivalry, I'd heard a little bit about it. I knew there was NASCAR here. I knew there was PGA golf here. I knew there was women's tennis, but I didn't really know that there'd be enough to sustain a career for more than 3 decades. Yeah. And it was a revelation. Some of the things that we both saw on this thing are just so memorable. You know, the good feelings between the different sides, the bad feelings between different sides, that fight up in Clemson in 2004. You know, just the attraction of the quality of coaches who wanted to be part of this. Lou Holtz, Steve Spurrier, Tommy Bowden, you know, Dave Odom, you know, just people like that. They've all made this a fantastic ride over the time.
Do you have, this is the bad thing about when you come to an end.
Yeah.
It's like, do you have a most memorable moment from your years of covering sports in South Carolina?
Wow, that's a really good question, and I don't think.
Yeah.
I mean, I want to say that 2004 brawl stands out because it was just, all right, the game was over, right? It was pretty much over.
Yep.
Clemson was going to win, and then it just erupted, and it did not stop. And we're sitting there just trying to take it all in and make sense of it. And the aftermath of it, the thing I'll remember about the aftermath, Sorensen, and he had a press conference about the fight, a press conference about the bowl ban, and then a press conference about Steve Spurrier taking over for Lou Holtz, right? It was all that time frame, that weekend. And he goes, I've had 3 major press conferences in less than a week. And he goes, and I came from Alabama. So,
That's right.
So it was really quite a remarkable thing. And everybody was, and people didn't want to call you back all the time, but they eventually did and told you what you needed to hear or what their opinions on things. So I would have to say that probably stands out most. After that, maybe Dawn's. I was there for the 2022 national title in Minneapolis. That was quite a ride. That was after, our colleague Corey Diaz had taped Dawn calling my boss, Oscar Dixon, to say that I should be going with them to the Final Four.
Yeah.
And it took off, and then I got there, and they let me behind the scenes of things, and that was pretty memorable. That time as well. And just to see them win that after the year before when they came so close, they lost on that, I think Aaliyah Boston missed 2 layups there at the end. Go.
Opportunity. So I would say dynasties.
Yeah.
Maybe dynasty is a strong word, but the Clemson National Championship
for sure
runs in football.
Yeah.
The USC baseball runs in national championships. And the ongoing run of the USC women, not capped, but highlighted today by something you probably thought you'd never see, and that is a $4 million a year women's basketball coach.
Right. It's something I remember that Dawn said after the last contract that she got, which was a mega deal that she got, $3.1 million a year or whatever it was. But she said at the time, listen, it's not about the money, but she goes, if you impact, it has to be about the money. So what they're saying, what South Carolina is saying here, Staley and her program are bringing this university. I'm guessing it's helped. I'm guessing it helps enrollment. It helps attention. Dawn being kind of the face of women's basketball at the moment. That's got to help this university. And for them to be able to lock her up for the next 5 years or so, I think through the 29-30 season,
through tax day of 2030.
I mean, it's 15th. Crazy. And she may still do it after that. I mean, she may be ready to, want something different, but she may just decide, you know what, I like what I've got here. I like the program I have here, and I'm still recruiting at a very high level. So we'll see. But this is definitely big for her and the university.
We got about. Can you believe how the college world has changed from the time you got here to how you're leaving it?
Well, it really, I've talked with so many people about. I remember when South Carolina was tagged with a secondary violation or an NCAA violation because they gave out impermissible cookie cakes.
Yes.
To you can stack up the cookie cakes whatever you want. I mean, there's no the things that were violations and some serious violations probably shouldn't have been violations then, but they're certainly not now. So it really is fascinating to see how this is going to be. And it's interesting now everybody seems to be handling hiring a general manager for their program in order to make the financial decisions they're going to have to make going forward with revenue sharing, NIL, things like that.
Just like the Jets.
That's terrible.
You
can have Aaron Rodgers back anytime you want him.
Let's hope their GMs are better than what you got with the Jets. Good luck to you. I know we're going to see you around with things.
Yeah, I will be. I'll be doing some freelancing.
In fact, invites me to anything.
Phil, it's a pleasure to have you. I've seen you I've listened to you broadcast from
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
Here's your weekend forecast. Clouds rolling in tonight, setting us up for a wet Saturday. Our low this evening, 41. Tomorrow, look for heavy rain at times, especially early. The high tops out at 58. For Sunday, it's a mix of some sunshine, some clouds, and a 30% chance we get those scattered showers. The high in the mid-50s. Have a great weekend. I'm Cal Moss with your On Point local weather.
At Palmetto State Armory, we offer the largest selection of guns and ammunition at unbeatable prices. Our knowledgeable and friendly staff are here to provide personalized assistance, ensuring you find exactly what you need. If you enjoy outdoor activities like hunting, camping, or hiking, our clothing and outdoor gear collection has got you covered. We also feature an exceptional indoor range facility where you can experience the thrill of shooting in a safe and controlled environment. Visit us today at PalmettoStateArmory.com or your local retail store. Palmetto State Armory, American made for life.
This is an SRN News special report. The Israeli government approves the Israel-Hamas ceasefire agreement. I'm Keith Peters reporting. Israel's cabinet has approved a deal for a ceasefire in Gaza and the release of dozens of hostages that will pause the 15-month war with Hamas for 6 weeks. The deal agreed to earlier Saturday brings Israel and Hamas a step closer to ending their deadliest and most destructive fighting ever. The ceasefire will go into effect on Sunday. Mediators Qatar and the United States announced the ceasefire Wednesday, but the deal was in limbo for more than a day as Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu insisted there were last-minute complications that he blamed on the Hamas terrorist group. This has been an SRN News special report. I'm Keith Peters reporting.
Customer service. We all talk about how it's gone down the tubes in recent years, but not everywhere. Not with the Hickory Hill Insurance Agency. These are the folks I want you to feel comfy reaching out to for your Medicare and health insurance needs. Tim Hanberry and Medicare Blueprint have joined Hickory Hill Insurance. The result? Even better customer service with a bigger team to help you by utilizing the very best technology in the industry. And you know what else? Just plain old caring about people and treating them like their family. When you call them, you'll get a call back fast. When you need a question answered, they'll take the time to help. This industry so confusing and so ever-changing. They have a team that knows the best plans for you. They'll ask all the questions, they'll get all the answers, and as always, it won't cost you a penny to get their services. The best way to learn more? Visit their website, partdandme.com. That's partdandme.com, or call the team at Hickory Hill Insurance Agency. They're local, and they're willing to talk one-on-one. Remember, customer service still matters. 708-7398, 708-7398, or online, partdandme.com.
Are you looking for free checking and free savings? Dave Ramsey here, telling you to go see my friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union. They're not a mega bank that's so big they lose the ability to treat you like a human being. At Palmetto Citizens, you're not just a number, you're a member. Join today at any of their 14 locations or at palmettocitizens.org. Federally insured by the NCUA.
Hey y'all, this is Ted from Flight Deck Restaurant. We'd like to invite you and your family to dine with us. We have a great menu that's sure to please your whole family. We have fresh cooked burgers, big juicy wings, blue plate menu featuring country cooking, oven baked hoagies, fresh crisp salads, authentic Greek food like gyros, souvlaki, and baklava. We also carry 20 different premium cheesecakes and pies. Flight Deck Restaurant also has an arcade with 30 different games like Star Wars, Batman, Skee Ball, Bass Wheel, Pac-Man, Galaga, and so much more. Flight Deck, your favorite family restaurant. Thanks y'all and God bless.
If you step onto H&J Cattle Company's farm, you'll find third-generation farmers upholding the legacy. They embrace sustainability and take immense pride in their craft, raising cattle purely on nature's offerings, without growth hormones, antibiotics, or animal byproducts. The result? Unmatched quality beef that's not just good, it's the best in South Carolina. Experience the distinct flavor of our finest registered Hereford and Wagyu beef. Visit us online at hdjcattle.co or on Instagram and Facebook at H&J Cattle CO.
Hun, did you see the power bill? I feel like we're trying to cool the outside with these old original windows from the house.
Yeah, they are old. They let the cool air out and the hot air in. Plus, they're really ugly. I think it's time we finally get those new windows.
I think we need to call Redbird Windows and Doors.
Oh yeah, think of the Miller's house up the street.
I got their card when I was talking to the Millers. Here it is, Redbird Windows and Doors, 727-0561. Oh, and let's look at their website too, redbirdwindows.com.
Give me that number again, please.
727-0561.
feeling just right. Phil, Chris, and Josh, they're in the zone. Across South Carolina, they're well known. Sports Talk, bringing the heat. Talking sports, can't be beat. Tune in, don't you pout. It's a show you can't live without.
All right, welcome back, everybody. We are in Lexington tonight, and we're here celebrating the career of Pete Iacobelli, a good friend to everybody. Pete's still going to be doing some working. He's just not going to sit home and plant vegetables. He's going to do some freelancing, so he'll still be at some games and things like that. You know, it's hard to shovel dirt on us in the media, you know. It's hard to put us away. The big story of the day, though, was here in Columbia, and we're going to hear some comments from Dawn Staley coming up. But Dawn Staley gets a new contract for $4 million a year, topping off at over $5 million a year. Steve Fink is joining us, one of the associate athletic directors over at South Carolina. Been a great friend for a lot of years, and he's here to celebrate Pete, but we also grabbed him because he's over there at USC and very close to Dawn Staley and everything that went down today. So welcome in. It's great to see you.
Hey, it's good to be on, Phil. Appreciate you having me.
Always a pleasure. How about today over there at USC with the board approving this contract? What's been the feedback within the walls of the university?
Yeah, obviously very excited to have that done and have Dawn locked up for a number of years now. It's something I know they've been working on. Coach Tanner was working on it for some time, and finally able to kind of get the ball pushed across the goal line, if you will, and get a done deal today that we were able to announce. So I'm sure everybody's excited about it. Obviously, her record speaks for itself, and the success she's had, and just what she brings to the university beyond basketball as well.
Yeah.
Just so much positive PR for us, and obviously the success on the court that she's had, especially in the last 6-10 years. The number of 3 national championships, number of Final Fours, and all that. And as we've seen the women's game grow as well, just so much publicity and positive talk about South Carolina overall, and Coach Beamer talks about just having her on campus and helping out with recruiting, and a lot of the recruits they bring in wanting the opportunity to meet her as well, and that helps throughout all sports. And that's one of the great things about South Carolina is the coaches really support each other and each other's programs. She was at the basketball game, I know, the other night on the sideline cheering there. We've seen her at football games regularly on the sideline. So just great to have her know that she's going to be part of the athletic program here at South Carolina for a number of years.
Absolutely. And her success, I mean, really, in this era, it's hard to match what they've done. And she has built that program, we say, for the long run. She's had a long run, but for the future, I mean, there's no signs of any kind of a let-up in what could be ahead for this program.
Absolutely. Phil, you and I were there. Well, I was there anyway. You were usually probably doing your show, but 15 years ago, and it was kind of next to kin type thing. We're the only ones in the arena, and now you go to a game. It's hard to get a ticket. I was there last Sunday. Coming up, we got the game day crew coming in a week from Thursday, I believe it is, for the LSU game, and it's going to be packed again, and it's just so much fun to be there and be part of that, and obviously the winning helps, and it's exciting. Can't remember the last time we lost a game at home. So
let's see, the record. Just looking at it's like 60-something in a row at home.
It's unbelievable.
The streaks are incredible. There might be a 50-something SEC and on the road in the SEC, and I mean the talent just keeps rolling. Look, she is an international basketball figure, just named into the Hall of Fame, another Hall of Fame. Great player, great coach, the Olympic coaches. Obviously, a lot to attract the athletes, but what about her personality that you've noticed makes it all work for her?
Yeah, I don't work with her on a day-to-day basis, so I'm kind of at a little more arm's length, if you will, and watching, and it's just amazing to me how I think she's been able to adjust over time too. And I don't know, you can coach kids today the same way that you did when she was starting, It's just a different way about it. But I'm sure she has her standards that these are must-haves, and there's no exceptions to these things. But I think she's also probably given and take a little bit more. We saw Coach Tanner do it in baseball too, where he maybe allowed the team to show a little more personality, if you will, at times, or to have some more fun, if you will, in the dugout and those sorts of things. You saw him kind of change over time too. I think it's just part of the natural progression of a coach, of learning how to deal with young kids and how that changes.
So we're going to play some comments from her in just a moment when we wrap up with you. But, I mean, she said she didn't apologize for getting this money today. Her comments were like, basically, we have our standards. We play to a standard, and this is now kind of a standard that I've earned by getting this program to where it is. I mean, and she's not bashful, obviously, about pushing for more and more for women's sports.
Absolutely.
Even though, as you know, in some, even around here, there's some kickback not kickback. There's some pushback to that in some areas where people say, if you're spending that money on women's sports, you're taking away from football.
Right.
So, but she keeps pushing it, and she keeps winning. Yeah. She keeps winning those battles.
Yeah. I remember when she was first hired, Eric Hyman hired her. And I remember that there was some pushback then of what we were paying her, which is considerably less than what we're paying her as of today.
Yeah.
But people, why would you do that? Why would you invest in women's sports? And obviously, if you were at the game on Sunday and you saw 18,000 people there, there's a reason why we've invested in women's sports, and just the positive, again, the publicity that brings to the university as a whole. And it's amazing if you see her, especially like on the road, and the number of people that just want to meet her and shake her hand or get a picture with her. It just goes on, and she does a really great job with that as well, which for anyone, there's a challenge with that as well.
Mm-hmm.
That goes with that, and she does a great job, and she understands what that means to people, and she, like you said, she does a great job of promoting women and women's basketball specifically, and but again, she's at there, at the men's basketball games as well, supporting Lamont and his team, and football and softball. You see her at softball games and stuff all the time. So she's just a great asset for the university.
All right, last thing, we'll let you go. What about this past football season? Your inside look. You're in the locker room, of course. You're behind the scenes where we aren't. So heck of a ride, a 9-win year, almost make the playoffs. You're watching Beamer kind of grow as a coach and build this program.
Yeah, it was a fun year for sure. Yeah. Kind of unexpected for anybody certainly outside the building to have that kind of season, but you knew especially on defense, you knew that those guys had been around. Experienced group. You see it all the time. The teams that have the more veteran groups, you see it all the time in NCAA basketball tournament, those mid-majors, the guys that have been there, juniors and seniors that are playing, get the upsets in tournament time just because guys have been around and been part of the program. We had that, especially on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah.
And it was just a matter of getting a quarterback comfortable. We knew he could play, but he was a redshirt freshman that had 3 or 4 games under his belt coming in, and you could just see him as the season wore on and him just getting better and better. And obviously the last 6 or 7 games of the year, he was as good as anybody in the country.
Yes. So. Yeah. It's going to be exciting in 25. Thank you so much.
You bet.
Appreciate neighbor. You didn't realize when you moved into the neighborhood who your neighbor would be, huh?
I'm still holding that against the person who sold me the house. Right?
Thanks for coming over.
You bet, Phil. Take care.
Senior Associate AD Communications and Public Relations for
there
football,
you go.
Steve Fink. We got the identification correct there. Thank you so much.
All right.
Appreciate it. Before we go to break, here is Dawn Staley from this afternoon. Had a little meeting with the media at practice, a little gaggle with her, and this is just an excerpt of what she had to say directly and strictly about getting this new contract and this new huge deal, making her the highest paid women's basketball coach in history. Here's what she had to say.
Don, congratulations. Just what does it mean to get this kind of contract where you continue to set levels and break ceilings for the women's game?
I think what it represents is, we play to a certain standard, and I do think when you're able to get a raise like this, it's to your standard. I don't think anybody expects us to play lower than our standard, and we haven't. And then, you should be rewarded. Is a hard word for me. Because it's earned. When you've done what you're supposed to do, and well above what you're supposed to do, you should be paid accordingly. And the university and the board signed off and approved of the raise.
Don, what does this mean not only to you personally, but to your legacy in basketball as a player and a coach, and as an inspiration for others to follow in your footsteps?
Well, I'm just gonna say, for me, I've never been driven by money at all. Never, ever. I think money is the byproduct of your success and your ability to work hard and be successful in your space. I do think it represents what can be in other professions, that women for whatever reason are not paid for doing the same type of work, the same type of job. And I think this is an example of what it can look like, feel like, sound like, and I hope everybody's happy about it for what it represents, because it's only the right thing to do. And if you're not willing to do the right thing, then your standards are off. Like you're off when you can't see the same type of work, same type of success that deserves, the pay raises.
Coach, how did your players react to the news of your new contract?
They asked to borrow $1. No, I think sometimes, I don't, I only give them information if they ask for it, or they have a reaction to it. And then I just tell them that what I just told you, there's going to be a time in their lives where they're going to feel like they're doing the job and they're getting paid less. And how to handle those instances. It is a fight, no matter what. It's a fight. It's a fight. It's a fight to explain to people what your worth is, what your worth is. You have to do some comparisons with, coaches here, and you got to do some comparisons with coaches in other spaces, and it's the way it is. It's negotiations. Our negotiations as women are probably a little bit different because we're valued, a little bit different. But I think when it's all said and done, it is the same things that you apply to this game. It's the same persistence, perseverance. It's the same, it's really a game. Negotiations are a game. You get one up, I get one up. You just keep going back and forth. It took a while for it to happen, a long time for it to happen, and fortunately we got to this great place that will only make it makes me look good, but it makes our university, it makes our athletic department look great in the whole grand scheme of things. It's gonna be something that, budgetarily hard, absolutely, because you don't earmark money to pay a women's basketball coach the amount of money that I'm going to get paid and what I've been paid. But again, Ray Tanner did a great job. Ran a hard bargain. Coach Tanner was very much a part of this negotiation. I think JD came in the end and had, a say on the end. But the board, at the end of the day, did something again that's extraordinary. because it really just doesn't happen. But I'm glad it is South Carolina. I'm glad it's our university and our board that no matter what, we look good. Like we look good. Like, you know, it'll be plastered all over the place, and I've got hundreds of text messages. But I'm glad I'm the person that is able to handle it, because I really truly don't care about the money. I do care about the principle of it. Don't care about the money. It's the right thing to do that.
Okay, there you go. Comments from Dawn Staley from earlier this afternoon. I'm trying to hold it down a little bit because they're having a little presentation to Pete, and we're in a very small room. So, Chris, you had something you wanted to say about the Staley deal?
Yeah, I thought it was interesting what Steve Fink talked about in terms of her impact, not just on the women's basketball team, but the entire university athletic department as a whole. When football recruits come to visit South Carolina, one of the things they want to do is visit with Dawn Staley and the women's basketball coach. And I bet you can count on one hand the number of programs around the country when they bring in a football recruit, that one of the things he wants to do is go visit with the women's basketball coach. And so if you're wondering part of the reason why South Carolina feels it necessary, if you believe that Dawn Staley's being paid an exorbitant amount of money, there's another reason why. Just her impact, not just on her sports, but on all the sports at USC.
Yeah. Well, as we've said before, she is a brand, and she is certainly bigger than her program in and of itself, and maybe even bigger than the university, because, look, she speaks her mind. She says some things that people don't agree with. She's taken some actions with her team that people don't agree with, but she continues to do it the way she wants to do it, in the image that she sees for herself and for her program. And nobody is going to change her. And we'll be right back.
There's a lot of things we take for granted in our lives. Your home's AC will run cool. Your drive-through coffee will be hot. And the car will start when it's time to take your kids to school. It's when things don't go as planned that you start thinking about who to call and where to turn. The good thing is, you can prepare for life's most difficult days by calling the Larry Lucas Agency today. Larry is a State Farm agent that has been taking care of people across South Carolina for more than 2 decades. You probably have insurance, but switching is easy, and bundling can save you hundreds or more. Most importantly, the Larry Lucas Agency can help you choose the protection you want at the price you want. All backed by South Carolina's #1 home and auto insurance company. Visit LarryLucasAgency.com today or give Larry a call at 803-799-1998. Like a good neighbor, Larry Lucas State Farm is there.
You've put in the work for your education. The extra early, extra late, extra work. That's because you understand education opens doors to better pay, better opportunities, and a better you. Being educated about playing the lottery is no different. It helps you be a better player, one who knows when to play and when to take a rain check. The lottery's a game, so let's keep it fun. Learn more at sceducationlottery.com/betteryou.
G3 here with Tsunami Bar Sports, and it's time for a fall preview. That's right, 720 Chris Drive, 378 and I-26, Frontage Road, where you can now preview the best technology for golf known to man. It's the Tsunami Bar. It's live weight. It's the only technology out where you get your tempo and flow going before you play. Now, it also serves as a pattern support tool. 720 Chris Drive, Frontage Road, 378 and I-26. You also can visit the Garage Gym Pro Shop. Pick up your tools, take them home, and while you're here, tour the Scramble Course 6-hole pitch and putt right now.
You know, as a goodwill gesture from those of us here at Sports Talk, I would like to take Pete and Lynn, his lovely wife, and set them up for a wonderful vacation in Myrtle Beach. at our expense. But I'm not going to do that. But I will remind him. I will remind him and advise him that if he's looking for a great place to get away to and a great location to stay at a great price, that he should call Jimmy Smith at James Smith Real Estate, 843-237-4246. Online at pauliesvacationrentals.com. Paulie's the place, Jimmy the man. In fact, the whole Grand Strand, the guy's got his fingerprints all over the entire Grand Strand. So just give Jimmy a call, and he will take care of you. 843-237-4246. pauliesvacationrentals.com, and get it done. You know, maybe it's going to be snowing next week. That'll be a good time to make that phone call while people are caught up digging out of the snowfall. Call Jimmy, say, I'm ready to come down to the beach this spring, this summer. Hook me up, and he'll take care of you. 843-237-4246 is the number. All right, let's squeeze in a quick phone call. Didn't get a chance to get to any last night, and we're limited tonight. But Nick in Gaston, you, sir, are up with us here on Sports Talk. Welcome in.
Hey, Corn. Hey, I just wanted to say congratulations to Coach Staley. She set a milestone, a benchmark, whatever you want to say. She's a single black female of middle age range. So she's the highest paid women's coach in the nation. I'm congratulating her. She's dragging South Carolina into the 21st century here. We got the highest paid women's coach in the nation. So keep on dragging us. We'll get there with the rest of them eventually. But the only thing is, like you say, once you win the Natty and once you're the highest paid in your state, there's nowhere to go but down. So we need a Natty. We need about 3 more.
Well, I don't think there's any doubt, barring injury or something catastrophic along those lines, and thank you for the call. I mean, there's no reason not to think that they won't be winning more national championships in women's basketball around South Carolina, around USC, with the players they've got. And let's face it, again, it's a very top-heavy sport, right? Sure. How many really good teams are there in women's basketball?
Well, it's gotten better over the years. Part of the reason Tennessee and Connecticut and Stanford, 10, 20, 30 years ago were able to dominate the way they were, and this is not a knock on their programs, but there were not many challengers. The depth was just not there. The depth has gotten considerably better, but still you're talking maybe 8 or 9 teams that legitimately could contend for a national championship, and it may not even be that deep. But, I mean, college football is not that deep, is it?
Mm-hmm. They think it is.
In terms of national championships, I mean, we saw 12 teams get into the playoffs, and legitimately 6 of them had realistically no shot to win a national championship.
You're right, but they think that there is a depth of teams in college football, or we wouldn't be expanding. Well, I know why we're expanding it, but they want you to believe that the number 16 team in the college football playoff, when they get to 16, they want you to believe the number 12 team would have a shot, a legitimate shot. If it was seeded, the funny thing is this year, you've got 2 teams that were seeded like 7 and 8 or 6 and 7, like playing for the championship. We know that was a misseed. We know that's not identifying the seeds properly. If you identified the seeds properly, then I think I could say with very strong assurance that a true number 16 team in the college football playoff will never win the national championship.
Yeah, exactly.
I think I can say that with some assurance.
The deepest sport right now, in my opinion, well, maybe 2 of them, college basketball on the men's side and college baseball.
Yeah, college baseball.
Because the transfer portal and the proliferation of scholarships across the board, I mean, you can have a team like Coastal Carolina win a national championship. That's not going to happen at the college football side of the coin. A mid-major team is not going to pull that off. A G5 team is just not. And, basketball, I think right now you could probably look, and there are probably 10 teams, maybe 12, that legitimately can make a run in the tournament.
I would agree with that, and all of them are SEC teams. And Duke.
That's true, too. And Duke,
okay. Yep. We'll be back after this break.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
From the Bart Fireside Studio, the solution for keeping you warm this winter.
This is 107 The Point.
Breaking news this hour from townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters reporting. Israel's cabinet has approved a deal for a ceasefire in Gaza and the release of dozens of hostages that will pause the 15-month war with Hamas for 6 weeks. The deal agreed to early Saturday brings Israel and Hamas a step closer to ending their deadliest and most destructive fighting ever. The ceasefire will go into effect Sunday. Mediators Qatar and the United States announced the ceasefire Wednesday, but the deal was in limbo for more than a day as Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu insisted there were last-minute complications that he blamed on the Hamas terrorist group. Monday's presidential inauguration will be moved indoors because of extremely cold temperatures expected in Washington, D.C. White House correspondent Greg Clugston reports.
President-elect Trump announced that his inauguration ceremony will now take place inside the U.S. Capitol Rotunda. Forecasters say Monday will be the coldest inauguration day in 40 years, with temperatures here in D.C. around 20 degrees, with wind chills in the single digits. Writing on social media, the incoming president said he ordered the ceremony indoors to keep people safe. He said the Capital One Arena will host the presidential parade after his swearing-in and inaugural address. Greg Clugston, Washington.
President Biden claims the Equal Rights Amendment should be considered part of the U.S. Constitution.
The National Archives said previously that the Equal Rights Amendment cannot be certified because it wasn't ratified before a deadline set by Congress. And on Friday, it reiterated that position, saying the underlying legal and procedural issues have not changed. Presidents do not have any role in the amendment process.
That's correspondent Donna Warder. On Wall Street, the Dow up by 334 points. The Nasdaq rose 291. More at townhall.com.
Hi, everyone. If you've been injured in an accident that was not your fault, listen up. We have legal professionals standing by to answer your questions for free. Call now and find out if you have a case and how much it's potentially worth. Call 800-504-8790. I'm here with spokesman John Wolf. So, John, tell everyone listening who should call right now.
Well, Maria, first off, thank you for having me here. It's always nice to answer the listeners' questions. Now, as far as who should call in, anyone who's been injured in an accident and think you deserve compensation, give us a call right now. 800-504-8790. You'll find out if you have a case and how much it's potentially worth.
Thanks, John. You heard it, folks. Take advantage of this opportunity and call now. 800-504-8790.
Advertisement sponsored by Legal Help Center. May not be available in all states. 5.
A federal task force has released recommendations on how to help avoid any mishandling of classified documents by a presidential administration.
Better guidance and training. That's what the Presidential Records Task Force is recommending on how to safeguard classified information when one presidential administration transitions to the next. The task force, formed nearly a year ago by President Joe Biden, is also calling on Congress to provide more money for secure storage so presidents can safely access records after leaving office. Donna Warder, Washington.
New York City Mayor Eric Adams said his meeting with President-elect Trump on Friday went well, but declined to immediately talk about what they discussed. The Democratic mayor flew to Florida to see the president-elect. Adams confirmed that the meeting had taken place to a New York Times reporter who posted a brief video of their exchange to X. News and analysis at townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
Here's your weekend forecast. Clouds rolling in tonight, setting us up for a wet Saturday. Our low this evening, 41. Tomorrow, look for heavy rain at times, especially early. The high tops out at 58. For Sunday, it's a mix of some sunshine, some clouds, and a 30% chance we get those scattered showers. The high in the mid-50s. Have a great weekend. I'm Cal Moss with your On Point local weather.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
From the Bart Fireside Studio, the solution for keeping you warm this winter.
This is 107 The Point.
The Point. The Point.
Welcome back to Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network. You can reach the guys with the South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number, 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now back to Phil and Chris with the second hour of Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network.
Okay, we're back on Sports Talk here on the Sports Talk Media Network on this wonderful Friday night. And for those of you just joining us, it's great to have you with us. We're at the Old Mill Brew Pub in Lexington. If you're ever looking for a collection of sports writers in South Carolina, just look for a pub, and you can find a bunch of them hanging out there. We are here to celebrate Pete Iacobelli, life and times of Pete Iacobelli, retiring after 30-some-odd years with the Associated Press and a bunch of the media friends gathered together. I forced my way into this party by offering to do the show. I didn't actually have an invitation, so that's why I'm here. And we're able to talk to some of the outstanding current and former writers from here in our state, and one of those to join us, well known for his writing for the Post and Courier and his columns for many, many years. Gene Sapp, recently, not too long ago, retired as the columnist and writer with the Post and Courier, and he joins us. How are you?
Great, Phil. It's so much fun to be here to honor Pete Iacobelli. And what's really interesting is that I've said this for years and told people that you, Phil Kornblut, and me and Pete Iacobelli, we were the only people that really covered Clemson and Carolina, kind of equally, divided our time. We're at the big games, basketball, football, baseball, for both those schools, and over 30 years kind of developed this kinship, you, Pete, and I. So to come here and honor Pete, which, there's just no better person and no better journalist than Pete Iacobelli. And then to have you doing your live radio here, this is just so cool.
Well, thank you. Like I said, it's the only way they let me come, so I had to offer up something. But, yeah, we always said, like after a 9 o'clock Clemson basketball game, and we're driving back, you guys to Charleston, me to Columbia, I'd always say, if I find you in a ditch, I'll pick you up, or if you find me in a ditch, pick me up. So we had some long trips and some late nights together. I do miss you. I do miss your well-thought-out columns, your ability to tell the truth, and your ability to bring out the facts in a way that was understandable. So why, for you, was it time to move on to some other life mission?
Yeah, well, I had some volunteer work I really wanted to get to. Part of that stemmed from a month-long trip to Israel that I took last year, and after October 7th. And so now I'm an official ambassador for SAR-El, S-A-R-E-L. That means Service to Israel in Hebrew. I'm not Jewish, but I really, feel for the country, and that's the official volunteer organization of the country of Israel. And so I'm trying to help them by speaking at churches and synagogues and to other civic groups. So if anyone's interested in a guest speaker to talk about what it's like to work on IDF bases in Israel and do volunteer work, and I plan to go back this year, hit me up on social media. And then also, Phil, I am an official tour guide at the Woodrow Wilson Boyhood Home in Augusta. I realize there's one in Columbia, but he spent from age 1 year old to age 13 in Augusta, and then do some food box packing for an organization in Augusta that helps homeless people, basically. And I just love that. I love all those things that I just mentioned.
That's fantastic. So, you see yourself as just a giver back to whatever community you happen to be, and even to a country and to a people that you have no connection to.
Well, really, I see myself as an old guy that needs to fill his days and no longer covers football games till 3 in the morning.
Yeah.
But, all that you just said is kind of humbling. But really, I'm just trying to do something as a semi-retired person, I guess.
Well, I think of you as a great guy, and what you're doing now is fantastic. I want to go back to the sports for a moment, because that's what we know you best for around here over all these years, and working for a great newspaper like the Post and Courier. And throughout all the changes over the years in the newspaper business, I mean, the Post and Courier, when you were there, locally owned, family owned, and they kind of fought hard to stay within the boundaries of what newspapers used to be for all those years. So, something that we kind of, I'm not going to say we've lost it, because you still have to have good writers and editors when you're just doing it on the web, but the Post and Courier seemed to kind of put up a fight to kind of keep the norm down in Charleston.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just, I don't say proud, I'm just very blessed and thankful to be having been able to work at the Post and Courier for 38 years. I mean, for me and for the colleagues that I had at the Post and Courier, David Cloninger, John Blau, still at it on these great beats. It was just wonderful. Won a Pulitzer Prize, our news department did, for just a great story and great series of stories on exploitation of women here in South Carolina. And yeah, I mean, I just above and beyond. And as you said, the great stewardship of the family-owned company was the key to all that, and still is so, as far as I know.
Well, I don't know about you. I can't think of the Post and Courier without thinking of Ken Berger. And you replaced Ken as the columnist when, unfortunately, he passed away. A friend to everybody. What was it like? I knew Ken, of course, playing golf and seeing him at events, but you saw him every day. What was that like working alongside him?
Well, first of all, I've written a couple columns on Ken fairly recently over the last several years. One right before he passed away, and then one when he went into the South Carolina Journalism Hall of Fame, and I refer people to try to go to the Post and Courier website to check those out. But what I can summarize is that Ken Berger was a great journalist and a better person. And I mean, I saw that every day in both of those ways. And since we're here for Pete Iacobelli, he's the same thing.
Yeah.
Great journalist, better person.
Yeah, no question about it. It's hard being a journalist today, isn't it, under the definition of what a journalist is supposed to be?
It is, but I think it's a fun challenge. I mean, to adapt to the multi-platform demands and to work harder because access is tighter. And I think it's made journalism around the state better and better. And some of the people at these fan sites are incredible journalists. I'm just going to mention one, John Whittle, who covers the Gamecocks. The guy's ridiculously good, and so many people that cover Clemson and South Carolina. Larry Williams, I'm going to mention another one at Clemson. But yeah, it makes journalists try harder and be better because you just have to fight the multi-platform fight. And you know who the greatest beneficiary of all that is? The consumers of sports information, the readers, etc.
Last thing, we'll let you go. I think this is probably the most important thing to ask you over everything else. You mentioned your time in Israel right after October 7th. You volunteered to go over there to help in the recovery efforts. What did you take away from that? What did that experience mean to you?
I took away a lot of sadness and a lot of joy mixed together. I'll tell you what, I spent 4 weeks on different assignments all over Israel, working next to soldiers all the time that had come to and from Gaza, that were on their way to Gaza, some of them teenagers with the mandatory reservist situation they have in Israel. And Phil, I met the toughest, most badass people I've ever known, and the men were pretty tough too.
Women carrying machine guns, pretty impressive, huh?
All over the place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you hit an age there, you're going to the military. There's no question about it. One more time for people who want to, I imagine you're a dynamic speaker and deliver a hell of a message. Tell people again the best way to reach you if you want to speak in churches and synagogues and schools, and where else do you want to go?
They can, civic organizations, civic clubs. I've spoken to a lot of, Kiwanis and Exchange Club and things like that. But yeah, churches, synagogues. And I'm on Twitter and I'm on Facebook. That's probably the best place to find me. Instagram. or just, hit up people that that can find me otherwise. But, yeah, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram.
SAPAKOFF.
That's right, Phil. I appreciate that.
I got it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, man. Really appreciate
I
it.
pulled you away from the beer for a couple minutes. I guess you're okay with that.
Shabbat shalom.
Thank you, and Shabbat shalom to you. Gino the man. Can you believe what a great writer and just what a person to go to do what he did, he's not even Jewish, and he volunteered to go over to Israel to help, that is phenomenal. I got to say something real quick because we're here with a bunch of sports writers. Our good friend Monty Dutton is in the hospital. I talked to him last night.
Man.
Had to have some surgery. And so he's in the hospital up in Greenville. So keep Monty in your thoughts.
Indeed.
He's doing okay. He's going to be there for a little while, but he certainly appreciates people thinking about him and reaching out to him if you hadn't heard. I didn't find out till last night when Coach Keith Richardson told me that Monty had to go to the hospital. So we wish him well. We're thinking about him as well as our good friend David Shelton, who continues to recover from his surgery from a few weeks ago. Okay, we got to do a little recruiting, and then Bob Gillespie is going to join us at the bottom of the hour, who is, of course, Gillespie, longtime golf writer with the state. He's going to join us when George Bryan joins us to talk birdies, bogeys, and biceps around South Carolina. So there is something after the break I want to talk about with you, and if you want to join us on the lines, 888-898-2525 is the number. So some quick recruiting coming up. Maybe we'll hit a couple of phone calls in this other sort of major story that we need to talk about. We're going to talk about here coming up after the break. So we'll be back having a blast. I've only had one sip of champagne, and I'm starting to feel a little bit on the woozy side. But we're going to make it through the next 35 minutes, and we'll be back.
After dark.
This is Major Billy Downer with the South Carolina Department of Natural Resources. Boating season is here, and as you get ready to go out on the water this spring and summer, make sure you have all the required safety equipment on board. Check for a sound device. A horn or whistle will suffice for most boats. Inspect all of your life jackets. Make sure they're in good condition and are the correct size for all of your passengers. If your boat is over 16 feet, you will need to make sure you have an approved throwable device on board as well. Remember, boating safety is no accident.
The difference with Lawyer Lisa. Hi, I'm Lisa Hostetler Brown. Helping an aging loved one arrange for their care can be one of the most difficult things you will ever do. Fortunately, you don't have to navigate this maze alone. Lawyer Lisa's knowledgeable life care team can lead you down the right path. Visit lawyerlisa.com to see how we can help. Call Lawyer Lisa. Experience the difference with Lawyer Lisa. 7511 St. Andrews Road, Irmo, South Carolina.
If you're looking to grow your business, Sports Talk is here to help. I'm Matt Smith, and in addition to reporting for Sports Talk, I'm in charge of helping business owners make the most of our statewide platforms. Whether you're a small business owner or part of a large company operating here in the Palmetto State, we'd love to hear about your business. Sports Talk has a track record of delivering results to our partners, and it's probably more affordable than you think. Our network of affiliates shows us the flexibility to work with budgets of all sizes, and our statewide coverage means that whether you're in Greenville, Orangeburg, Chesterfield, Charleston, Woodruff, or somewhere in between, your future customers are listening to Sports Talk. Every business has a story, and we want to hear yours. It's our mission to serve this state, and that means finding success together. Please email us at sportstalkmedianetwork@gmail.com or contact us through our website, sportstalksc.com.
The Sports Talk Recruiting Report is sponsored by Seawell's Catering.
All right, let's give you the recruiting report tonight here on Sports Talk, brought to you by Seawell's, our good friends at Seawell's. Very best catering in America. SeawellsCateringSC.com. Phone number of 803-771-2727. 7385. You got something very special, needs the best in catering, and you don't have a restaurant like we have here tonight, which is great, but you have Seawells, and they will host your event at their location and take care of everything for you, or they'll come to your location. They're at 1125 Rosewood Drive. Keep that in mind when you go there for the daily luncheon buffet from 11 till 2, Tuesday through Friday. Another great day today of the daily luncheon buffet at Seawells. We'll give you that menu for next week. Next week. Anticipation, that's part of the beauty of thinking about going to Seawells next week. Make your plans to get over there for the daily luncheon buffet Tuesday through Friday. All right, tonight, far as recruiting goes, got a few notes for you collected today as South Carolina and Clemson sent out more offers, especially the Gamecocks, putting out several new offers in both the 2016 and the 27 class, as coaches, of course, have gotten on the road and started to meet with players. In fact, there's a funny little story we'll share with you in just a moment. So new offers by South Carolina today in the 26 class, defensive back Emerson Lewis, 5'11", 175 of Savannah, and safety Inari White, 6'1", 190 of Weldon, North Carolina. In the 27 class, the Gamecocks offered safety Davion Jones, 6 feet 175 of Charlotte. Defensive end Marquise Evans, 6'5", 230 of Birmingham, and that's his first offer. Defensive tackle Nate Kamba, 6'3", 270 of Charlotte. And cornerback Marquise Bryant, 6 feet 185 of Rollsville, North Carolina. Clemson offered cornerback Blake Stewart, 6'1", 170 of Atlanta. USC commitment linebacker Rodney Colton was offered by SMU and Florida State recently, and per warchant.com, he is slated to visit Florida State this weekend. He's been committed to the Gamecocks since last April. Clemson's in the top 10 with offensive tackle Chancellor Barclay, 6'4", 290 of Mineola, Florida. The others on his list are Alabama, Penn State, Miami, Oklahoma, Florida State, West Virginia, Georgia, and Texas A&M. And Clemson offensive line coach Matt Luke visited with offensive tackle Carter Scruggs of Leesburg, Virginia on Thursday, and Scruggs posted that he has a big announcement on January 26th. So could be a commitment, could be something else. And Clemson coach here's the cute story. Clemson coach Dabo Sweeney today visited defensive end Cam Brooks of Thomasville, Georgia. The cute part of the story is that Kirby Smart of Georgia was there at the same time. So the two head coaches. Well, no, they posed for a picture. I've never seen this before. Maybe this is a sign of the changing times. The two head coaches posed together with the player. And I guess maybe some of his family members and maybe his head coach. I don't know I've ever seen that before, where two head coaches on the recruiting trail going after the same guy posed with that guy. But I think that's a sign of the changing of the times, because they realize that, the relationships and the personalities, that's all important. But when it comes down to it with a lot of these decisions, it's going to come down to who makes the biggest offer. And that will do that on a particular recruiting case. And that'll do it for our recruiting report tonight here on Sports Talk, brought to you by Seawells. Be sure to check it out over the weekend as we add more notes on our website, SportsTalkSC.com. All right. We go to I know what I want to do first. The story that came out last night, we got to touch on it, and that is a story that the Department of Education hasn't issued like a ruling or anything, but they've issued a guidance to the colleges that are going to be distributing money this summer, the $20.5 million. And we all know the talk that, football is going to get 75, 80%, and everybody else is going to get what's left. And the Department of Education has said, again, this is a guidance, this is not an actual ruling or anything, that you can't do that because, you got to distribute it along the lines of Title IX guidelines. Now, apparently, with the change of the administration on Monday, the new administration might have a different view of this particular issue, and it might not become an issue. I don't know what's going to happen politically with all that. But, Chris, the thing is, as of right now, the Title IX factor has to be thought about when schools are considering how we're going to divvy this up come this summer.
Well, I don't know, Phil, how the Trump administration can get around Title IX. I mean, this is federal law. I mean, it would have to go through the Supreme Court to get overturned, would be my guess. And there's no way on this earth a Supreme Court justice is going to, of course, they can't be unseated, so they don't have the political pressure. But nobody's going to vote against Title IX. And right now, the way it's set up, if 50% of a school's athletes are women, then 50% of the school's financial aid for athletes must go to women, which makes perfect sense. And, you're in a situation now, and when this came out earlier, I kept wondering, all right, when is Title IX going to play into this? When we heard that, $17.5 million is going to go to football, and the other $2.475 is going to men's basketball, and then the other sports get everything else. And I was thinking, there's no way that can work. Now, there may be rules that come out eventually, and as you pointed out, the Department of Education just trying to set some guidelines. But to me, any of that money that comes in and is funneled directly to athletics has to pass through the lens, I would think, of Title IX. And if that's the case, these schools that want to send $16, $15, $14 million of it just to their football team, they've got another thing coming.
It's going to be interesting to watch. Let's go to Andy in Columbia for our next phone call. Andy, welcome in. How are you?
I'm doing well, Phil. Well, I shouldn't say that. I'm kind of PO'd. But let me first say something to Chris. Chris, you've been railing about how Coach Staley dresses for I don't know how long. Obviously, the bots don't care what she's wearing as long as she's wearing at least 3 championship rings on her fingers. I mean,
I agree
she
with
can
that.
run around in all the Eagles uniforms or outfits she wants. As long as she's not wearing that ugly, cute Clemson orange, I don't think they care what she wears. Now,
No, I think you're right. It just bothers me. I don't have a problem with Dawn Staley as a coach. I think she's remarkable.
Forget it, because she's going to be around till 2030 at least. So forget that. Get over it.
No, it bothers me.
Forget it, buddy.
And it's going to always bother me.
Look at the jewelry. Look at the jewelry. Appreciate the jewelry.
I do, but I also
that's
appreciate
the
the
big
fact that
thing.
she's paid by the University of South Carolina and should not wear another team's logo while she's working for USC. That's the issue I have with
As
it.
long as she's not wearing another college team's logo, if she wants to wear her Philadelphia Sixers, which I hate the Sixers, I hate the Eagles, I hate the Flyers, I hate all to do with Philadelphia, I could care less. As long as that woman keeps bringing us national championships and brings us the kind of basketball team she's bringing us, I'm happy with her. Now, what has me PO'd is, and I don't know if y'all mentioned this tonight, I can't stand these Los Angeles Dodgers. Now they got Sasaki. Did y'all see that?
I just saw that. I just saw it.
I mean, how can they let them do that deal with, what's his name, the lefty, the pitcher and hitter. Now I got a brain freeze on his name. The Japanese guy that they signed away from the Angels. How could they let him do that kind of deal, that all that money's backloaded, that it doesn't affect what's going on now with the current team? I mean,
the thing about the Dodgers,
Cole, you should be really PO'd because they keep beating your Yankees all the time in the World Series, and my Mets don't even get a chance to get to the World Series because of them.
Otani is who you're talking about.
The only good thing that happened today is my Mets stole A.J. Minter away from the Braves.
Well, Otani's the guy you're talking about, and thank you for the call.
Yeah, Otani, I'm sorry.
Thank you for the call. And the thing about the Dodgers is they have no fear of any kind of tax. They don't care how much over the cap they go. They have no fear about paying the tax. The tax was supposed to try to keep these teams in line when it came to the cap. But the Dodgers don't care about the tax. They got so much money.
You guys don't understand hypocrisy and irony, do you? It's fascinating to me to listen to fans of the Yankees and Mets complaining about another team spending too much money in baseball.
Have tried to stay within a budget. We have tried to stay within a budget here in recent years. and not go over the cap and not pay the tax. The Dodgers don't give a damn. All right, we'll be back.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
Here's your weekend forecast. Clouds rolling in tonight, setting us up for a wet Saturday. Our low this evening, 41. Tomorrow, look for heavy rain at times, especially early. The high tops out at 58. For Sunday, it's a mix of some sunshine, some clouds, and a 30% chance we get those scattered showers. The high in the mid-50s. Have a great weekend. I'm Cal Moss with your On Point local weather.
Hi, I'm Alicia Kaufman-Quinton. My daddy, Billy Kaufman, opened Kaufman's Meat Plant at our present location in 1955. My family still works hard every day to ensure fresh quality cuts of beef, pork, and poultry. How about a tasty T-bone, ribeye, or New York strip steak? But to order at Kaufman's Meat and Place. Just look for the signs near the intersection of US 1 and I-20 in Lexington. Call us at 356-0076 to place your order. Kaufman's Meat and Place, when you want the very best your money can buy.
With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters reporting Israel's cabinet has approved a deal for the ceasefire in Gaza and the release of dozens of hostages that will pause the 15-month war with Hamas for 6 weeks. The deal agreed to early on Saturday brings Israel and Hamas a step closer to ending their deadliest and most destructive fighting ever. The ceasefire will go into effect on Sunday. Outgoing Secretary of State Anthony Blinken told the Associated Press he hopes the incoming Trump administration will press forward with several key points in President Biden's foreign policy, including on the Middle East and Ukraine. But in an interview Friday on his last workday as America's top diplomat, he expressed concern that the Trump team might abandon all or some of those policies. More details at srnnews.com.
I sure like to brag about good local businesses. Franklin Plumbing and Drain Cleaning is a great local biz. Josh and his team stress customer service as their top priority. Franklin Plumbing and Drain Cleaning came out to my house. I had a toilet that wasn't working right, a garbage disposal that died. They came out right on time, told me everything they were going to do, and explained the price of each repair before even bringing in the tools. I knew exactly what I was getting and exactly what it would cost. Their prices are fair, their team is courteous and professional, plus they did a great job fixing what needed fixing in my home. I am very careful about making any recommendations, and I'm thrilled and confident to suggest you call Franklin Plumbing and Drain Cleaning for any plumbing needs. If it's a repair or to replace something, if it's that tankless water heater that you've always wanted to give you that endless hot water and save you some money. They unclog drain and sewer lines and so much more. Online, you'll find them at franklinplumbing.sc.com or just give Josh and those great folks a phone call, 799-2222. That's 799-2222, and tell them you heard about them from here at The Point.
Are you looking for a luxurious way to pamper yourself? Look no further than Sunrise Artisan Bath & Body. Our plant-based soaps and lotions are designed to provide you with the ultimate experience. Our products are natural and nourishing, leaving you feeling refreshed and rejuvenated. So go ahead, treat yourself with Sunrise Artisan, which is more than a bath, it's an experience. Sunrise Artisan, located at 710 Saluda Avenue in 5 Points, or online at sunrisebath.com. Sunrise Artisan.
This is Fran Halloran, the Money Coach. Grow with The Point as we build on 10 incredible years of community local radio. We've built an environment where our listeners are our family. Are you a small business with big dreams? Join the tremendous stable of advertising partners at The Point. Connect with Kevin Cohen and brainstorm a tailored strategy to escalate your business growth using the powerful platform of The Point. Call Kev directly at 563-8558. Teaming with The Point, you can make the next year your best year.
Step into a brighter future with Broker Solar. Transform your home, your business, your nonprofit into a beacon of efficiency and savings. With Broker Solar, you're not just installing solar panels, you're setting the foundation for long-term financial savings, taking control over these power companies that, well, let's face it, they have a monopoly. You can't choose your power company, but you can control the cost of your power. Ken and his expert team will help you to navigate through any complexities of solar energy. They'll tailor a system that's perfectly fit for your needs and for your budget. Get a rooftop setup or somewhere else on your lander, just start with solar to integrate powerful battery backups. So when the storms do come, the power goes out in your block, it'll stay on at your home. It's not for everyone, but if you're even curious, don't you owe it to yourself to reach out and call Broker Solar for a free consultation? Listen, if you trust the point, if you trust me, I'm telling you, you can trust Broker Solar. Explore your solar potential at brokersolar.com. Start generating power on your terms. Broker Solar, empowering you while shining above the rest.
It's Friday, gotta get down on Friday. Everybody's looking forward to the weekend. Friday, getting down on Friday. Everybody's looking forward to the
All right, welcome back, everybody. We're coming to you tonight from Lexington. One final shout-out to our good friend Pete Iacobelli from the AP, who is retiring from that role. We had a nice gathering for him tonight, and some people are still here. Some have wandered away. George Bryan's going to be with us in just a second as we go to Birdies, Bogies, and Biceps here on Sports Talk. But we've had a caller waiting for a few minutes, and I wanted to give her a chance to join us. Lightyear Campbell? Lightyear Campbell. Hello, Lightyear. How are you doing?
Hello, I'm doing good.
Good. How can we help you?
So, what are we talking about today?
Well, we're talking sports. We've been talking a lot of sports tonight.
So, like, what sports can we talk about? Like any sport?
Yeah, well, yeah. What sport do you want to talk about? We got about a minute with you, so what sport do you want to talk about?
How about we talk about,
How about we talk about Dawn Staley? You like Dawn Staley?
No, not that. How about we play, how about we talk about,
How about we talk about the Green Bay Packers? Do you like the Green Bay Packers?
No, I want to talk about the, Pittsburgh Steelers.
Okay, what you got on Pittsburgh?
Well, I don't even, no, how about we talk about something else?
Well, I tell you what.
SC Gamecocks.
All right, go ahead. What you got on the Gamecocks?
Also, a team that here on 107.5 The Game in Columbia, South Carolina.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, listen, we got to run. We got to run because yeah. Call us again next week, and we'll have more time. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Let's talk about hanging up.
Phil, you have the patience of Job. You really
I was trying to be fair, and I was trying to get to a topic that this individual, because they'd been holding for a while. So, anyway, thank you very much. We did our best. We tried what we could, but now, you know, this is probably this is the best thing we do. The second best thing we do is play golf.
Absolutely.
And the third best thing we do is talk golf with George Bryan III.
4. Straight down the middle. It went straight down the middle. Then it started to hook just a wee bit. And that's when my caddy lost sight of it. That little white pellet has never been found to this day. But it went straight down the middle, like they say.
Oh, thank goodness for George Bryan III to bail us out of that bunker we were just in. GB3 joining us. It's Birdies, Bogies, and Biceps. And we have a special guest. Not that George isn't special enough, but we have another special guest who is here with us in Lexington, Bob Gillespie, longtime golf writer, sports writer, but also I think maybe best known for his golf writing skills and stories over many decades with the state newspaper and other outlets. And he is sitting by with us here, George. So let's welcome Bob into Birdies, Bogies, and Biceps. How are you?
Oh, I couldn't be better. And what a privilege to have Bob on. Glad to have you. Glad to talk to you tonight, Bob.
Well, George, you act like you don't have my number on speed dial, which we know you do. So.
Oh, goodness. Back there, my fondest memories in sport has to do with you two guys being together, and they're always really cool. If I got a chance to talk to you all, especially around the last day of the tournament, I knew it was good when I got to talk to you guys together. So even though we're not competing, that's the only way this could get better is if I was actually the one that you guys were watching. You guys are legends.
Now, Bob, let me bring Bob here in on this. So, go back to your days watching George in action in various tournaments. What did you think of him as the competitor?
Oh, he was the alpha competitor. I mean, there was nobody more competitive. Not always the best player, but the guy who was going to fight the hardest to succeed. George, don't laugh at me, son. I'm building you up here. I expect a check tomorrow. But no, I met George. Actually, George may or may not remember this. I met George, I want to say he was like a 19-year-old sophomore on the South Carolina golf team. And I'm not even sure why I got to know him, but I did. And, something clicked. We just liked each other. And I've watched him, now. How many years since you were 19, George? About 40 or so, 50 or so?
That's been a few years ago now, considering I'm over 40. In fact, I'm over 50. In fact, I'm over 60.
Oh, God. See, that just makes me feel old, George, when you say that, because I remember you as a kid.
Well, your age is sort of like your golf score. It just keeps going up in time. But if you can still shoot in the 60s, I mean, George, you're one of those fortunate ones, right? You're capable of going out and shooting your age. Now, I mean, you'd like to be maybe 68, 69. It'd be a little easier. Maybe 62, 63 might be a little tough.
Yeah, well, I'm like George. I can shoot my age as long as we stop keeping score at about 12.
Yeah.
No, but I tell you, the thing that always, besides the fact that George just is a good person, loves golf, has always supported golf in South Carolina and in the Columbia area. But the fact that he produced two sons who have just done amazing things in golf and are still doing amazing things now with the Salina Golf Course over in, not that far from us.
That's
over
right.
in the Casey area. And back when they were still not quite open, I think they had, George, you remind me, I think he had like 11 or 12 holes finished. And I went by one day, and George loads me in a golf cart and takes me at high speed all around the golf course to see what they'd done. I was just blown away because I go back to the days of Indian River when it was, it was a nice golf course, but nothing special. And they've just done some amazing things, and I have yet to partake of the dining, which I understand is tremendous, at the restaurant there on the property.
No. George.
Gregory's, yeah. Good food.
While we got you on the phone here, we really sort of ought to make a day of it. You, me, Bobby, maybe one other, and go play around and then go have a meal and maybe chop it up with Wesley and George the Fourth and maybe walk out with some free shirts and and some other goodies.
Stop me if you've heard any of this before, George.
Hey, I love Friday nights because when Phil and I get on this radio, it's amazing how the story grows. It's the fish, and we get better and older, and the older we get, the better we get, and the more we talk, the better we get. So,
older I get, the better I used to be.
Oh, absolutely.
That's the way of the world, man. That's the way of the world. So, I got Bob here with us because I thought we would just, we're into the new golf season, both on the PGA Tour and soon on the SCGA. And I mentioned last night I was up in Greenville, and on my way on the highway, I passed a truck hauling a bunch of golf carts, maybe towards Augusta. It was on I-20 going west. I'm thinking to myself, they're taking them to Augusta to start getting them ready. So I got the itch for Augusta, George. I know you always do. I know Bob does. So, and we'll check on what's happening out on the West Coast here in just a moment. But once we get past this little cold snap, I know that doesn't stop you from playing golf. Maybe it stops some others. We get past this little cold snap, though, we're really going to start getting heated up here for the Masters.
Oh, absolutely. And I tell you, I do see the three of us having a little time together. I know Bob does a lot of cool things with the South Carolina Golf Association, and we're going to host the Palmetto Cup matches in March at Salina. So I can see a little celebration with us getting together, and we'll further discuss that possibility later. We're also going to host the U.S. Open qualifier in, let's see, I think that would be in May. But that won't be as much fun as the amateurs against the pros in the state. We'll talk more about that. And Augusta, Bob and I have, well, Bob's got a few more Augusta stories than I do, and I can't wait to hear one. At least one. You got to tell us one tonight, Bob. One.
Oh, boy. One Augusta story. Well, this is not all that funny or anything, but people always ask me, and they probably ask you too, George, who is your favorite athlete? In my case, it would be any athlete, any sport. In yours would probably be more about golf. And I would always say for years and years, and still do, Jack Nicklaus. And they say, well, why? I mean, obviously the greatest golfer of all time, and arguably with Tiger, I guess. But why Jack Nicklaus? I said, well, here's the thing about Jack Nicklaus. I said, every year at Augusta, they would bring him in, and I'm sure they still do. And he did. Basically, it was like the State of Jack golf.
Right.
And he would sit up there at the podium with one of the Augusta National members in a room full of writers, a lot of them with gray hair, who remembered when in his heyday. And he would answer every single question. Then, when that ended, he would step down into the audience, and you could always count on 4 or 5 or 6 writers to cluster around Jack. They wanted something extra. And he would answer every question. He would walk down the aisle to the front door, walk out in the general area, still got 1, 2, maybe 3 still hanging on. And this went on for like an hour. And at the end of it, he walks out, and he turns around, and he looks at whoever's still there. He says, okay, guys, you got everything you need? And then he was gone.
How about that?
So he was the quintessential cooperative athlete.
How about that? You don't find many of those anymore, do we, George?
Not quite, not that way. And he very well-mannered. And, Palmer, the king, he was always very gracious. I remember his last Masters, he's walking as he's finishing his round, he's walking up the side of the fairway near the ropes, just shaking hands, and it was amazing. And that's one cool thing about golf is a lot of manners. We express our competitive spirit. We remain ladies and gentlemen, and we're always pulling for the other player, which is highly unusual. It's stunning.
I can't really admit to that, George. I don't necessarily agree with the pulling for the other player. I mean, Are you saying it's sinful to hope that the guy you're playing against hits it in the lake? That's not something you should hope for?
Here's what I found with the greatest players, and I know that this is going to be hard for most to wrap their head around, but they truly do pull for everybody. They understand the true nature of the competitive expression, and that is, hey, you want everybody to play their best. You just want your game to be one shot better. That was what Jack Nicklaus made famous. He didn't figure that one out himself. Bobby Jones talked about it. So yeah, I can tell you, in my experience, the greatest players, they have the greatest level of humility, and they do pull for everybody else. You know why? Come on, fellas. Why would the greatest players pull for others? Why?
Because they bring out the best in them.
They push them, huh?
Exactly. That's how you define these new places and that's what the greats do. They just want to constantly redefine themselves. And so it's something that's not spoken of.
All right, but let me ask you this. Let me ask you this. I'm going to push you to the limit on that concept. So you're telling me if we're on the 72nd hole at Augusta on a Sunday afternoon, and Tiger and Rory are tied, and Rory's looking at a 7-foot birdie downhill to win. You think Tiger is saying make it, or he's saying miss it to himself?
Yeah, it depends whether he's got a putt to tie him.
No, he's in. He's in. He's in.
So Rory's got a putt to win.
To win.
Now
I'm gonna let George answer that one.
Hey, here's what I will promise you. He doesn't put any thought into what's going on that it consumes his mind, because he knows if it's tied, he better be ready for the next hole. So yeah, he's watching it, but it's kind of like when you're in traffic. Yeah, you're watching those cars go by you, but you're not thinking intimately about any one of them. You're doing what you got to do to stay in your lane. And I can promise you, there ain't nobody been greater than to keep controlling their mind through the last shot. Then the only one that we know of is Jack Nicklaus. But Tiger Woods would have his mind, I promise you, on if he's in the hole, he's thinking about the next thing, and that is the next tee shot. Now,
Okay. George, I hate to interrupt you, but let me ask you something here because you brought up Tiger, and I am assuming you have now watched the first 2 episodes of the TGL, the hitting balls into screens and the team play and all that. Have you watched that? And what do you think? I mean, it seems to really be gaining some traction with golf fans, and I can see why. It's fun, and you feel like you're right in there in the huddle with them almost.
I'm just absolutely, I can't wait to watch the first one. I'm 0 for 2. Phil, I'm guilty. I was supposed to pick it up on the second, but I didn't. I'll have to go back, rewatch. But, hey, I can tell you, if you got the personality, and Bob Gillespie, if you enjoy it, then I can tell you there's something to it. I hadn't watched it, hadn't picked up much feedback on it. Calendar schedule has a little bit crazy for me the last couple weeks.
Okay. Well, again, this comes on at night. You're not on the course at night, I don't think. But I will tell you this, and if you could probably find this on YouTube or someplace like this, but Tiger has the team. It's the Jupiter Golf Club. And they played, and I can't remember the name of the other team they played. They got waxed.
They did. It was like 10-1.
12-1. 12-1 at the end.
Yeah.
And you look over there, and they show Tiger. I think Tiger hit one in the water, and he did all this stuff. And he is having a blast. He's laughing. He's cutting up. He's trading jokes with the crowd.
The funniest one was somebody on his team was in the bunker. I can't remember who it was.
Max Homa. No. It was Kisner. Kevin Kisner.
And he shanked it out of the bunker.
Bladed it out of the bunker.
Yeah. And he was just laughing so hard.
Yeah.
He was laughing. I mean, they're having a great time. And, George, I know you're always one who says anything, even with the new the Live Tour, when that came out, you said, look, anything that's more opportunities to showcase the game of golf in some form or fashion, you're good with that. You just want to see the game continue to grow in whichever direction it has to grow.
Amen. You said it. And I love the sim golf. Hey, here's what I love even more is the team and the fellowship piece of it. I think that's the one great area, the great void in our country that is left out that we don't experience, and that is the community and team golf. So I think from the standpoint that it's team, I think that could end up being the seed that helps team golf permeate through the local clubs and courses and the community. So my first trip to England and Scotland overseas in 1997, Fred Johnson invited me to go, and that changed everything, my perspective. I got absolutely adored the perspective of not necessarily the people who played golf, but the people who did not. And the whole community, at least this was my perspective, and what I came back, the whole community was into the game. It's a little bit like everybody here keeps up with football, but who plays? Very few people play football, but everybody keeps up with it. And over in very few of the folks in Ireland and Scotland and England, they're not like I think they're probably less than 10% that play golf over there, but everybody keeps up with golf in the community. And they keep up not with individuals, but they keep up with the teams, the clubs. So I think I love anything that promotes what I call the team aspect of the game, and like you said earlier, anything that does help the growth of the game. So all
right. Let me update the American Express. Not your bill. I can update your bill if you want me to, George. What's your American Express balance? No, don't tell me. Nobody's laughing at that. You don't have an American Express balance?
I don't have an Express card.
Anyway.
I can tell you I got 130,000 points on that rascal. I just checked.
There you go. All right, Charlie Hoffman is at 16. Rico Hoey is at 16. Of course, they're playing 3 different courses. There's not a cut until after the 3rd round. Justin Lower is at 15, along with Mark Hubbard and Sepp Straka. And at 14, Jason Day and J.J. Spawn. As far as others, we got Justin Thomas is at 13. Ricky Fowler's at 13. Carson Young is at 11, playing well, 65-68. Jacob Bridgman, 70-69. He's at 5 under par. Ben Martin, 66-75. He's at 3 under. Bill Haas is at 1 under. Lucas Glover, 73-70. He's at 1 under. Kevin Kisner, 71-75. He's at +2. Wesley Bryan, 75-71. He's at +2. And Andrew Novak, 75-74. He's at +5. Again, they each get to play another round tomorrow, 54-hole cut on this one. Have you heard anything from Wesley out there about, of course, they're closer to San Diego, aren't they, than they are Los Angeles, so they're not caught up in any of the situation with the fires up in the L.A. area?
Yeah, they're east of it, and I have heard they could run into turbulence on the tour in a few weeks. So they're a little bit east, and even south, I think, of where those fires. But I have not heard anything. No, I haven't. It's really sad what's going on out there.
They're playing it is. They're playing the Pete Dye course. They're playing the Nicholas course out there, and they're playing the La Quinta Country Club course. Those are the 3 courses that you ever played any of those, Bob?
No.
Yeah.
I've played all 3, and they're absolutely beautiful. And it's not sad what's going on in Palm Springs. I said I was referring to the. Now Wesley's game is a little sad right now. He's got one more round. He's looking like he might have.
By the way, I saw, you probably know this. You probably saw it. I saw Shane Beamer tweet a picture with Wesley. He's out there. He was out there. He's out there watching him play, I guess. Yeah. Did you hear back from him on that?
No, I did not. And I tell you what, I enjoyed watching him. He was at the basketball game. Also, let's see. Well, anyway, he's everywhere. Shane Beamer's everywhere, and he's fired up. Everywhere I've seen him, he's got a big old wide smile, and he loves the game of golf.
Might be doing some recruiting out there, and they made a stop to see Wesley. We got about 3 minutes left, George. So, any final thoughts you want to leave with us here, and leave with Mr. Gillespie, besides us establishing a tee time for
soon
Selena at some point in time?
Well, I'd like to ask Bob to recollect the most exciting Masters that he watched. That's a good way to close the show and move on. This show is sponsored by Tsunami Bar Sports, and there are a lot of cool things on the horizon for Tsunami Bar Sports. We'll get more into that next week, but I want to hear Bob's most exciting Masters experience, especially coming down the line.
Well, it's hard to beat 1986, obviously, when Nicklaus came out of nowhere on the back 9 at Augusta and won it. And several players, Tom Kite, Greg Norman, others I can't remember, had chances to catch him. None of them could. And it was so funny, and Phil may remember this, but he came in, and earlier that week, a writer, Tom, and I've forgotten his last name, he was writer for the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, had done a preview of the Masters. And they listed the contenders and what their chances were. And they put Nicklaus's name in there almost like, well, he's Jack Nicklaus and all this. And Tom, and I cannot remember his last name, Tom wrote something to the effect of, too old, too far gone, blah, blah, blah. And the story was that Nicklaus's son-in-law clipped that article and put it on the refrigerator at the home they stayed at in Augusta that week. And Jack saw it every day. And so the thing I always remember, and everybody had heard about this by the time it got over with, and Jack comes wandering in, and Tom is sitting down on the front row with a big old grin on his face, and he said, "I'd like to thank Tom for the incentive." And he just looked up and he smiled. He said, "Glad I could help."
That's a great story, George.
Now that one is, you can't close out a segment sponsored by Tsunami Bar Sports, any better than that story. And there's our music. Hey, what a privilege to have Bob Gillespie and Phil Kornblut all in one group playing golf. We will do that at Lena Golf Club, too. There ain't no question.
I'm dying to see what it looks like now that it's done.
Hey, until next time, look forward to next visit. Tee 'em high, but shoot 'em low, man.
Thank you, George. Thank you, Bob.
My pleasure.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you,
Yes,
Josh.
sir.
Thank you, Pete Iacobelli and Lynn. Have a great weekend, everybody. See you Monday.